So just as a quick introduction to us, hopefully some of you know us already and we know you. So we're Thornton and Lowe. We help suppliers grow the business through public sector tendering, strategy and consultancy support. So part of this, a big part of this over the years has been offering SME suppliers a way to easily find relevant opportunities in the public sector. And build bid pipelines as well. So this is where our tender pipeline comes in. So my name's Adam, I'm Procurement Solutions Manager. I'm going to be running the webinar. I've also got Dave and Chris as well. Dave is our Managing Director, who's going to be working with me to answer some of your questions later as well. So the good news is the majority of the webinar will be a live demonstration. I'm not gonna drone on forever. And we'll use some practical examples on how to get the best out of the solution. We'll run through how to use the system to do live searches, of course, searches for live tenders. But we're also going to go through the new feature we've added, which we're calling Tender Pipeline Premium, which allows you to create a bid pipeline in seconds. So just briefly, before we go into the demonstration, very quickly, at a high level, what is Tender Pipeline? So basically, Tender Pipeline is a free tool which collates public sector supply chain data. In terms of the context for our business, we don't tend to use this as a source of income generation, really. It's purely self-funded, and it helps us keep an eye on the opportunity landscape for our clients. We especially use it to track public sector frameworks due to the importance of these types of opportunities for our clients. A lot of our clients are looking for those frameworks which onboard multiple suppliers and are a good way into the public sector. It's an easy to use tool, really, allowing you to search for live tenders, develop a bid pipeline, and also understand who's winning contracts and frameworks in your sector, which is something we're going to go into. The additional feature, Tender Pipeline Premium, is the first paid feature we've introduced. This allows you to download data related to live contracts and awarded contracts in your sector. So that links a bit more closely to bid pipeline planning and buyer engagement, which is something we're going to go through very shortly. So just to briefly touch upon the benefits of using Tender Pipeline for suppliers. And SME suppliers as well, particularly. Obviously, there's the live search element and the importance of not missing the boat with key opportunities, especially with the ability to set up tender alerts, tender pipelines, giving you visibility of those opportunities as they arise. But almost more importantly, really, we believe that success in the public sector is more than just putting in the most advantageous tender. So we also believe that relationship building and buyer engagement is key as well, to make sure you're an established name in the sector before you go into those tender exercises. And we'll explain how Tender Pipeline can support with that. Another really clear benefit is also with the importance of frameworks now in the public sector, it does allow you to just understand what frameworks are out there and which can be incorporated into your bid pipeline. And just to briefly summarize as well, there's a use of Tender Pipeline for buyers and contracting authorities as well. So we do find that buyers can use Tender Pipeline to support their own tender process. So they can use our awarded tenders tab to search for contract awards. So they can identify whether there are suitable contractors out there in the sector. They can see what the skill level is and what the expertise level is in their sector. And that's hopefully then allowing them to do an informed market engagement exercise and support their options appraisal as well. We're very close to going into the demonstration, but just to briefly touch upon bid pipeline. So you might be thinking, why do I actually need a bid pipeline? Why can't I just look for opportunities as they arise and then bid for relevant opportunities? Well, basically a bid pipeline, what is a bid pipeline? So you could just call it an organized approach essentially to identifying, listing and tracking and then also strategically planning for future tender opportunities in the public sector. And we're going to be focused on both contracts and frameworks today. So essentially, the benefit of this is we're avoiding a reactive approach to bidding. We're enabling the business planning that needs to go into it first, and we're understanding the opportunity landscape. And we've got time, if we're doing the bid pipeline and the planning, to undertake focused relationship building and sales and marketing, hopefully, as well, before we bid. So this is why we think bid pipeline development is crucial. And with that said, I'm going to go straight into the tender pipeline demonstration. So if you just give me a few seconds, I will load up tender pipeline for us. It's going to take a second while. So obviously the first step with tender pipeline is we need to log in using our login details. If you don't already have login details, just need to go to our website to create an account, a free account on Tender Pipeline. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a live demonstration of Tender Pipeline itself, go through some of the key features and how to optimize it really to get the best use out of it. So obviously we'll cover the free aspects of Tender Pipeline, and then a bit later on we'll get to the downloads feature and how that links into creating a bid pipeline. So this page here might look familiar to you. What I'm going to do first is I'm just going to show you how to do a very basic live search. So this is a fairly straight live search for live tenders. I mean here. So this is a fairly straightforward process on Tender Pipeline. But the key with this is to make sure you find opportunities that are relevant for you. You need to get the search right in the first instance. And whilst I wouldn't say it's complex, it does need a bit of tinkering and refining to make sure you understand what you're getting based on the search terms that you're using. So what I'm going to do first is do a very basic search and then use that as an example of why we might want to refine that search to get a better result. So I'm going to use some sort of hypothetical examples throughout the demonstration to showcase some of the features. So let's say, for example, I'm a cleaning company in the UK, based in the UK. Let's say maybe I clean offices, maybe I clean schools. And maybe at this point, I don't know exactly what I'm looking for, but I know that I'm looking for cleaning contracts in the UK. So all I'm going to do here is search cleaning contracts and UK, just to make sure we don't get any opportunities outside the UK. So what does that give me, first of all? Well, it gives me a host of live opportunities with live deadlines. We can see that there's a mix of single award contracts. If we scroll down a little bit, we can see a framework here with the NHS supply chain. And towards the bottom, and I know there's some on the next page as well, we're also getting some pre-market engagement opportunities which come before the tender process. So let's say we've done this and this opportunity here catches our eye, it looks potentially relevant to us. All we need to do is click into this opportunity and we get more insight and detail into the opportunity. So we can see that the buyer is the Forestry Commission. We can also see, which is good for us because maybe we're an SME, it says this contract may be suitable for SMEs. And then if we scroll down, we get an information sheet for the opportunity. So we get a description of the contract, also contract value, breakdown of the lots in some cases, the contract period. And then if we scroll to the bottom of the opportunity, we will get, importantly, a link to the source. So this will always be Find a Tender, Contracts Finder, a Public Contract Scotland. But what we can then do is follow the source to the location of the actual tender opportunity and a link to the portal and the tender documentation if we're interested in this opportunity. So that's all well and good, but if we go back to our basic search, let's have a bit of a double take actually at what we've actually got here. So we looked at that one that might be of interest to us, but then we also noticed that we've got opportunities like this. So this says it's a contract for responsive repairs, maintenance and a void service for housing in the City of London. So if we're coming to this as a cleaning company and we're fairly new to tender pipeline, we might be thinking, why on earth has this been flagged in our search? So the key thing to be aware of is, obviously, because we've used the keyword cleaning contracts, which is fine, but because this contract mentions cleaning in the contract description, this has been flagged as part of our search. But obviously, all we need to do is do a bit of digging to see that this isn't necessarily relevant to us. It's clearly linked to a different industry CPV code for repair and maintenance services. So this is where we need to start refining our search, essentially. So all I'm going to do is go back to my simple search, and then I'm going to open advanced options. So it may look scary at first, but it's a simple process. So what do I need to do? I need to start using the industry CPV codes to get something that resembles what I'm looking for. So it does help to know the CPV code linked to your industry, but I don't necessarily need to know that. I can start typing. A tender pipeline will give me CPV code for cleaning services here, which is what I want. So if I click into this, I can now see that those non-relevant opportunities that I flagged earlier have now disappeared. Obviously, there was the repair and maintenance one. There were some others as well that didn't look relevant to me. And I'm now just getting cleaning services contracts that are hopefully more relevant to me. So let's say I'm satisfied with that. It's given me opportunities I might want to bid for. Do I want to come back to this page every day and keep doing the search? Well, not necessarily. What I can do here is use the tender alert function, tender pipeline, to create tender alert. What shall I call it? Let's just call it contracts. And then all I need to do is save my alert, which gets saved there. And what I will then get is a daily update from Tender Pipeline to confirm any new opportunities, any new tender opportunities in the public sector that are linked to my search and linked to the CPV code now. So that's one way of refining your search. But let's say we've got a bit of confidence now and we think we might be able to refine our search further. So let's say we've got a window cleaning branch of our company, or maybe we actually primarily deliver window cleaning as a business. That's our key service. I'll come back to how we might be able to use keywords, but for now, again, all we need to do is type window cleaning services, select the CPV code, and now I can see that I'm getting specifically window cleaning services. There's one here. There's some here with live deadlines. There's a framework or two, and there's some single award contracts for those types of contracts. So what I would then do is create a second tender alert to give me a separate alert for window cleaning opportunities, if I'm happy that that's flagging relevant opportunities to me. Another option is what I could potentially do is, let's say we've flagged this as potentially relevant to us. So let's go into this opportunity here. So this is a live contract for cleaning services with a deadline of the 19th of July. One of the things I can do to gain more knowledge and gain more confidence with refining the search is I can just I can find an opportunity that's relevant to me and look at what CPV codes it's linked up to. So let's say I now notice that, oh, there's actually a CPV code for accommodation cleaning services. And basically what I do is cleaning accommodation, or maybe it's cleaning buildings in general. What I could then do is just follow the CPV code through to live tenders. Again, just search UK and I'm getting accommodation cleaning service results, which I can then put into a separate alert, and again get another alert related to a very refined and specific search for my business, hopefully. We can also play around with keywords. So let's just go back to our cleaning services. Let's say we take out cleaning from the keyword, but let's say we primarily clean offices. So let's just search for office cleaning and see what that gets us. So we can clearly see that using keywords as well does have a good effect. We're getting these live opportunities linked to office cleaning services now as well. I have the option to download that content, to have that in a nice, easy Excel file to work through, but I'm going to come back to the download function, obviously in the context of awarded tenders a bit later. So that's the live search element for live tenders. What I'm going to just briefly show you is another quite cool aspect of tender pipeline. So let's go back to this example that we found earlier, for example. So let's say, again, I'm looking at this and I'm weighing up whether I want to go for this, and I need to do something like a bid, no bid process to weigh up whether I'm likely to be successful with this opportunity, whether I should put my resources and time and effort into bidding for this. What I can do is a bit of buyer insight using Tender Pipeline. So all I need to do is click into the buyer for this opportunity is Bridgewater Housing Association. So if I click into this, what I need to do is switch from live tenders to awarded tenders. And then this is great. This is giving me insight into the buyer. It's given me a list in date order of the contracts they've awarded, the contracts and frameworks they've awarded, and it's given me details of who won those contracts. So what can I judge based on that? Well, I might be able to do a bit of digging into whether they're a buyer who tends to award contracts to SMEs, for example, or whether they're a buyer that tends to award contracts to larger suppliers, or whether they tend to have a favored supplier in a particular sector, for example. And again, I can use alerts if I want to, and I can use downloads if I want to. But that is a cool aspect of Tender Pipeline. It's giving you some quick and easy buyer insight there. So the only other aspect of the live search to touch upon really is DPS agreements. So these are dynamic purchasing systems. So some of you may know what these are. I think that the name for these might change a little bit with the new Procurement Acts, but essentially these are like frameworks that approve supplier lists in the public sector, but they tend to be a bit more flexible than frameworks. They can often be open for applications throughout the contract period, or they reopen a certain amount of times for applications. These don't necessarily, well, they don't guarantee you work, but it can just be a way to get your foot in the door with public sector. So obviously the process is the same really, but I'll add something new into this example. So I know, for example, that dynamic purchasing systems are popular in the healthcare sector. So let's say I'm a care provider. I'm in the UK. I've got the DPS in there. I might not use keywords for now. What I am going to do is plug in the right CPV code for health and social work services. But let's say I don't have much time here, and I know that I want to specifically work with the NHS, and I want to get on a DPS with the NHS. What I'm going to do is then plug in NHS here. I'm just going to enter quickly here, and then I've immediately got some really good DPS opportunities with the NHS, NHS trusts here. So I've got a clinical coding DPS, mental health services DPS. thankfully it's given me the deadlines in red here. Now, as you're navigating tender pipeline, you might not always find that the deadline shows in this column. It does depend on whether the source data that we've pulled in has that within the source, but all it needs is a bit of digging to get to the deadline once you click into the opportunity. And again, let's say I'm happy with that and I want to be alerted for future opportunities. I'm just going to create another tender alert for that save. So that's the DPS agreement aspect of it. And with that, we kind of covered the live tender search element. So obviously that's great, to be fair. We're getting live tender opportunities, or we're getting the pre-engagement notices. It's all good information. We might decide to bid based on our bid no bid process, but crucially with these live opportunities, we've probably not prepared 100% for these opportunities. It might just be coming onto our radar now with a few weeks to go, for example. It probably also means that we've not done the relationship building and engagement with the buyers necessarily. It might not be something we've actually strategically planned for necessarily. So in terms of actually developing a bid pipeline then, a pipeline that links to the benefits I was discussing earlier about buyer engagement and giving you time to strategically prepare. This is where we need to go to the awarded tenders tab within tender pipeline. I'm going to get rid of these search terms for now so I can start fresh with an example. But what can we do here? So the first thing is we're going to look at how to do a bit of competitor analysis. Again, still using the free aspect of tender pipeline, but then we're going to do some downloading of data to give us a bid pipeline, and then we'll go through what we get as part of that. So the first thing I'm going to show is how to do a bit of competitor analysis. Just going to take some water. So I'm going to pick typically busy industry as an example, grounds maintenance. Let's say I'm a grounds maintenance company in the UK, and what I want is some insight into, maybe I've put in bids before and I've not been successful, or maybe I'm just not aware of what's out there. So what I want to do is get a bit of insight into, actually, I'm not going to use the keyword for now, but let's just plug in UK. I want to get a bit of insight into who's winning contracts and frameworks in the sector. And I want insight into who's awarding those contracts as well. So I'm going to plug in grounds maintenance as a CPV code. What I will do is actually I will use a keyword to just focus the search. Make sure you're spelling your keywords right. So what does this give us? Well, just to confirm before I go into that, I'm not going to limit this by winner name for now, because I want a broad view of who my competitors are potentially. And I'm not going to necessarily, I may have a region in mind where I want to deliver grounds maintenance services, but I might find that some of the authorities or buyers who are awarding frameworks in my region are not necessarily based in my region. So I'm just going to keep it UK for now. What does that search give me? Well, again, it gives me some really good insight into what's going on in the sector here. So again, I've got a list in date order of the awarded contracts in the grounds maintenance sector, in the industry, sorry, and I've got details of who's winning these contracts here. So I can see there's a mix of opportunities. It's a framework here, some single award contracts, a DPS as well, and I'm getting, with the winner name, I know who is winning those contracts, and with a bit of digging after that, I might be able to do some digging into why they're winning those contracts, and maybe why I'm not winning contracts, do a bit of a SWOT analysis against my competitors. What I can also do here is, let's say I'm looking through this list and I notice a specific competitor who I know is a competitor. Let's just pick one as an example. So I've got a winner name here for a specific company. If I click into this, it will take me to the tender opportunity, but I just need to click again into the winner. And obviously none of this at the moment is important because I just need to look at this winner name here. So what am I now getting? I'm getting a more focused list, which purely shows me the contracts and frameworks this potential competitor has won. So let's say I'm scrolling through this and I come across this amenity green space framework. I may be thinking there's loads of contractors on this framework. Why am I not on this framework? When is it next coming up? What do I need to do to make sure I'm ready to bid when it next comes around? What I also may start being able to do is I can do a bit of digging into, if I click into some of these opportunities, I can look at when the frameworks were awarded. And obviously for some of these, I don't have the retender date in this column, but I can extrapolate based on the length of some of these frameworks to judge when the framework's coming to an end. And I know I may be able to work out when I need to be ready, what I need to do in the meantime. Now the thing to notice is if we go down to the bottom here, there's obviously quite a few entries here. I don't want to necessarily be scrolling through all of this. So what I would recommend doing is obviously using the download feature now to download this data, but I am going to go into Tender Pipeline Premium now and build in a bid pipeline, but what I am going to do is I'm just going to base it on a more broad search rather than going into a specific company. So let's stick with grounds maintenance. So I'm going to use the keyword. Again, I don't want opportunities that are outside the UK. I'm going to use the CVV code. And I don't want to limit it to specific winners at the moment. I want a broad view of what's going on in the sector for my bid pipeline. So this is where Tender Pipeline Premium comes in, the ability to download this data. So just as a brief overview, all the aspects of Tender Pipeline we've been through so far are free. This is the first chargeable function we've introduced, and we've tried to keep this as affordable as possible. Sorry. So there's a couple of different options with this. Option one gives you 24-hour access, and that's £75 plus VAT. There is an option two, which is 195 plus VAT. That gives you 12 months of access, and basically you can do as many searches and downloads as you want in that time. So what I'm going to do is really simple. I just click download. And what does that give us? Well, this gives us an Excel sheet now. So I'm going to bring up the bid pipeline element of the webinar. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up one I've tidied up slightly earlier, but this will give you a view of what you will be getting with this, with the download. So hopefully we can all see that on our screens. So I've used the download feature, and instantly that's given me data which can be fed into my CRM, for example. It can be used as a lead generation sheet, and is essentially your bid pipeline. So let's have a look at what we've got here. So the first thing that really interests me here is this column here, column A. So what I can do here is, let's say I am looking for frameworks. And for now, I just want to look at what frameworks are out there so I can plan for these in the future. All I need to do is select yes here, and I immediately filtered down to the opportunities that specifically are frameworks rather than single award contracts. I'm very interested in columns B, C, and D. I'm going to come back to those in a second once I've just scrolled along and sort of summarize what we get here. So obviously we get details of who the buyer is, who's released that framework, who's awarded the framework. We get the buyer details, obviously the region this framework's based in. And again, we've got some competitor analysis here. So we're seeing who's been onboarded onto these frameworks. Some of these will be, some of these are clearly single award supplier frameworks, but obviously there's a few here which are multiple suppliers being onboarded onto those frameworks. I've got the value, the value that's going through the framework, and obviously it'd be good to just linger on the CPV code column for a second. Obviously, what I'm getting here is the grounds maintenance service CPV code, but interestingly, there are some frameworks a little further down which are linked to different CPV codes, for example. So there's one here that's also linked to landscaping work. So what I can do with this is I can go through this and perhaps notice that some frameworks I'm interested in are actually linked to different CPV codes. What I can then do is go back to my live search to tailor my live search further using those different CPV codes. And then finally, these three columns I'm obviously very interested in. So I've got the framework title here. I've got a description of the framework, which is going to allow me to understand whether it's relevant to me. But most importantly, perhaps I've got the source URL, which I can follow to get to the portal eventually and to do more digging into the framework. So how does this constitute our bid pipeline? Well, what we can see with these columns here, I'm primarily interested in columns B, C, and D. So what we get with this data is an idea of the published date of the framework, and in some cases you will also get when the framework's going to end. So that will depend on whether it's in the source data. But what I can actually do is I can just filter for now to show me the frameworks that have an end date. So what I'm doing here is I'm flagging frameworks where I actually have the end date of the framework here. And against that, I have who the buyers are. So essentially what this is my prospect list for future frameworks. This is giving me data on who I need to start doing relationship building with. And it's given me an idea of when that tender is going to potentially come up for reapplication to the framework. So now we might be looking at the dates and thinking, okay, I'm going to do, this one is retendering in 2028, for example. So I'm going to do my preparation maybe 3 to 6 months before. But we would always recommend just starting as soon as possible, really. So what does that entail as part of your bid pipeline? Well, in terms of relationship building and strategy, it might be coming up with a tailored sales and marketing strategy to attract these buyers. It may be direct approaches to these buyers and just relationship building in general, and everything that goes into your normal sales and marketing process focused on these frameworks and these buyers. And then obviously having an idea of the time frame, it's one thing it's doing is just making sure that some of these frameworks aren't going to be a surprise to you when they come up for when they turn into a live opportunity that enables you to bid. It's also allowing you to sort of plan your resources in advance, do the pre-bid work, maybe even get access to the tender documentation from the previous round of the framework, and essentially do the preparation you need to do before the go live date, essentially. So collectively, that data represents your bid pipeline. That's Tender Pipeline Premium. Please do use it. Please have a go at creating your own bid pipeline. We are improving it all the time to hopefully get more of these end dates in this column as well. But yeah, please let us know if you've got any feedback from using it. Let us know if you need any further guidance as well. Just as a quick note as well, we do have a further webinar soon on the new Procurement Act, which will go into some of the differences in the procurement process in the public sector when the Procurement Act comes into force. I believe that's on the 17th of July. And just to say finally, obviously, that all this data and all this insight we're getting here will be as useful, if not more useful, when the act comes into force. So with that, I'm going to let you guys have a go and hopefully ask us some questions if you've got any. So I'm going to open it up to Q&A now.
Great, brilliant. Thanks, Adam. Yeah, just to cover what you said then as well, the webinar that we've got in July, I'll attach the booking link to that into the email that you'll all get as a recap on today's session as well. So again, that'll be a really, it's free a session again, but it'll be a really informative, I think, session for someone who's either looking at starting out in competitive tendering or just looking to get ahead of the potential changes. So it'd be really beneficial. And again, totally free, same process as this one. If we can just open up the questions now, I have dropped a few links in the chat as well to we've got like our blog section where we cover a lot of the terminology that Adam's been running through, plus some really good insight onto how you can become more sort of bid aware and build your pipeline, become sort of familiar with the systems. We've got hundreds of blogs on that link. So do have a look around there, do use the search function, and there's contact us sections all the way through that. So if anything comes up that you need a hand on or you'd like our input on, just let us know. So the first question then would be from, I think Natasha asked a couple. She says, do you offer a trial or a demo for the premium service? She's noticed that there's a charge for 24-hour access, as we also offer 12-month subscription. I'm aware that there's a trial, there's a demonstration, sorry, with the 12-month session. Dave and Adam probably be able to expand on that.
Yeah, I suppose just quickly, I suppose all the data is in there totally for free and has been that we've invested in and developed for 3 years or more. It is there just within the platform. The download function is the chargeable element, and there isn't a, I suppose, free version of that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So really, if you want to download and use that data for business intelligence purposes, whether it's doing any strategic analysis of it, any competitor analysis, that's where the premium service comes in. The actual data.
Sorry, Chris. I think the 24-hour access was just to try and reduce the price for those people who might be, for example, outside of the UK, but they're looking at entering the UK market and want to understand some of the trends, or an organisation that might be looking to set up a new division but needs to understand how this new sector actually operates and the key competitors. They don't need regular access. They just need this kind of one-off snapshot, and that's what the 24-hour access was built for, really.
Well, yeah, perfect. Cool. Okay, so Natasha's also asked, suspects you can't give too much info on this, but where is the data held on this platform? Where's it pulled from? She's trying to gauge how possible it is to miss an opportunity, and whether it's it covers all portals, even if they're like niche portals, I guess.
Yeah, so the main, totally open with this, and again, this is just the product isn't there really for an income generation. The hosting alone isn't covered by the download fees. The main sources for public sector tenders across the UK are Find a Tender and Contracts Finder. We are waiting for, after the 28th of October with the Procurement Act, for a centralised version for the UK, but putting Scotland outside of that. We'll continue to use Public Contract Scotland. We pull in information from South Wales Contracts Finder, Find a Tender, and South Wales. But I think in total, so it will include opportunities through Blue Light. I think we've got 9 or 10 different sites. The vast majority, and that's why you'll notice some duplicates, but the vast majority of every public sector contract goes through Find a Tender or Contracts Finder, and quite soon it will be going through one. The source isn't the value for us. We've just had to look at it in terms of a supplier perspective or a bidder perspective, in terms of being able to access that data that is in a format. Certainly, for anyone who's tried to use Find a Tender, which will be the new single platform with a few bells and whistles, it is very different. It's really difficult to produce the data that you need for it as a kind of busy SME trying to win work.
It's the user interface is pretty obstructive. Ours, sort of the tender pipeline really puts like a nice, easy to use functionality like on top of that. So yeah, it's really good. Jenna has asked a similar thing, actually, may well have covered it in that previous question, but if they currently use a number of different sort of portals or locations where these opportunities are posted, will the data be duplicated when it's coming from different sources?
Yeah, and you may have seen that as well. So quite often you'll see an opportunity advertised in Contracts Finder, which is typically for lower value contracts, and Find a Tender for high value. As a result, it will pull in 2 opportunities. Great,
perfect. Matthias has asked, do you help us to apply for bidding and for that kind of thing? Yeah, we do. We're a full service consultancy, so I'll message you directly after the session, Matthias, and we'll get you in touch with someone that you can help you with that. So I think that's it in terms of questions from the chat. If anyone does have any more that they just thought of or triggered you to think of, just drop them in the chat now. Give it a minute or so, but unless anyone's got anything else, we'll wrap up.
Chris, if you don't mind, just I suppose a couple of takeaways. So I know on the last screen on the demo, Adam put the filter on based on the ones with deadlines, and that is then an easy tool. What I know a lot of clients are using it for is even without that, taking that filter off, but it's by using the location filter or by using it based on real kind of niche codes around what's exactly right for yourselves. It's almost like a nurture list. It's there as a tool for you to then say, right, well, how do I start speaking to these people no matter when it's going to come out again, as you would if you'd bought data, if you and you simply monitor the engagement, right? So if you're starting to email these people and attend events, and if you are getting interest and you are getting engagement, of course you would follow it up in the same way. There's a lot of off-contract spend. Build it. It's a great way to build up experience if you're an SME. I'd highly encourage using the whole data set, but of course, from a purely formal tender perspective, a quick way of doing that is with the filter on the deadline, like Adam highlighted.
Excellent.
I suppose a few quick takeaways. So the Procurement Act is going to be interpreted as a result of the election, I'm sure, but it is still going to make some substantial changes. From a bidder's perspective, and from what we're hearing from framework providers and also contracting authorities from the public sector, is they're concerned around the running their own procurement. It's a risk. Working to new regs, framework use will increase. If there's frameworks in your sector or that are coming up, well worth considering, because they will also be based on the old or the existing rules, current rules. The other key element is new frameworks and new dynamic purchasing systems. There's an increased, if you're on these frameworks now and you use direct award, so where there isn't a mini competition or a call off the back of this approved list, off the back of the framework, the transparency requirements of these direct awards is going to increase. So what that means is it might be more difficult for you to use that as your sales tool. Something really important to consider. Not overnight, because any frameworks that you're on now, that can still happen within the same rules, but a real area to have a bit of a think about. And there is going to be, KPIs now have to be reported, actually published and reported. So your systems for actually ensuring that you're delivering on the commitments within the contract is really important. And this falls into social value as well. There's, I think the term is public benefit. There's not reference specifically to social value within the Act, but this public benefit and this focus on and move from most economically advantageous tender, meet, to MAT, most advantageous tender, and the reporting requirements, we really think social value is going to keep on increasing importance. So certainly an area, and I know on our site we've got loads of blogs around social value and creating responses, but that information set, how you monitor what you're doing on a contract, becomes really important. But we have to discuss and advise on that.
Perfect. No, that's great. And there'll be links to if you go into our blog section and just search for the Procurement Act or social value or anything like that, anything that we've mentioned, there's loads of information on there. I'll include the link in the summary email that goes out after this session as well. There'll also be an edited version of this recording. So that'll be up, I would imagine, tomorrow morning. So if you've got any questions off the back of the session, either for Dave, Adam, or myself, we'll send across the full pack of slides, the recording, and our fact sheet. So thanks to you all for attending, and have a good day.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers.